And also happening now, President Volodymyr Zelenskyy makes his case to the world as he addresses the United Nations. Let's dip in to listen to President Zelenskyy.
Truce instead of real peace, but the only prizes Putin will give you in return are more suffering and disasters. We must restore nuclear safety. Energy must stop being used as a weapon. We must ensure food security. We need to bring home all our captured soldiers and civilians forcibly deported to Russia. We must uphold the UN Charter and guarantee our right, Ukraine's right to territorial integrity and sovereignty, just as we do for any other nation. We need to withdraw the Russian occupiers, which will bring an end to the hostilities in Ukraine, and we must hold those responsible for war crimes accountable. We need to prevent ecocide and stop the destruction of nature caused by the war. And we must not allow a second or third phase of this Russian invasion. And we need to make it clear the war is over. This is the peace formula. What part of this could be unacceptable to anyone who upholds the UN Charter? If someone in the world seeks alternatives to any of these points or tries to ignore any of them, it likely means they themselves want to do a part of what Putin is doing. The point they ignore reveals the desire they're hiding. And when the Chinese-Brazilian duo tries to grow into a choir of voices, with someone in Europe, with someone in Africa saying something alternative to a full and just peace, the question arises, what is the true interest? Everyone must understand you will not boost your power at Ukraine's expense. And the world has already been through colonial wars and conspiracies of great powers at the expense of those who are smaller. Every country, including China, Brazil, European nations, African nations, Middle East, all understand why this must remain in the past. And Ukrainians will never accept why anyone in the world believes that such a brutal colonial past, which suits no one today, can be imposed on Ukraine now instead of a normal, peaceful life. I want peace for my people, real peace and just peace. And I'm asking for your support from all nations of the world. We do not divide the world. I ask the same of you.
All right, folks, you've been listening to President Volodymyr Zelenskyy right now at the United Nations delivering an address to the UN General Assembly. We're going to continue to listen in on what President Zelenskyy is saying and what the reaction will be from those world leaders. But let's bring in CBS News reporter Olivia Gazis, who's at the United Nations this morning for us. And so, Olivia, we already knew sort of the broad strokes of what President Zelenskyy wanted to say, the message that he wanted to deliver to all of those world leaders that are sitting there, including, we should point out, the Russians. What stood out to you?
Absolutely. Well, Vlad, as you know, the entire Ukrainian delegation here has been doing its level best to keep Ukraine at the top of the agenda, especially as these urgent developments in the Middle East have threatened to dominate it. So this is President Zelenskyy making a push, as you heard there, to maintain global support for his country, especially as his forces are embarking on the what is expected to be a brutal fall fighting season, making sure that he has the political support, that military support continues to come in. And he's already had a mostly favorable reception. The chamber was quiet just then, but yesterday, as he addressed the UN Security Council, there were more than a dozen states gathered around the table. And apart from, as you might expect, China and Russia, all of them condemned Russian aggression against Ukraine, condemned the exceedingly high civilian toll that is resulting from this conflict. And so he has been well received. After today, as we know, President Zelenskyy will continue to make a personal case. He's expected to meet with President Biden and Vice President Harris in Washington to lay out his vision for the way forward from here.
The question, of course, Olivia, has to be, even with this meeting on the books with President Biden, the members of Congress who are not necessarily supportive of the millions, the billions of dollars that the United States has sent to Ukraine in its defense of its borders and its country. Has President Zelenskyy at all mentioned that? I mean, it's got to be tricky navigating these waters, especially since we're just a month and a half away from an election. And of course, if former President Donald Trump wins that election, he's been sort of vocal about his desire to focus more on spending money in the United States. In other words, for the U.S. domestic policy, as opposed to sending money abroad.
Absolutely, and I think President Zelenskyy has acknowledged that the stakes are exceedingly high for his country at this moment, and that's why he is personally taking this plan on the road. He has termed it his victory plan, and that's what he's expected to present to President Biden and Vice President Harris tomorrow. He has also been trying to get in front of President Trump. No meeting, as far as we are aware, confirmed between the two of them, because he recognizes that no matter what happens in the election, Ukraine is going to continue to have very significant needs from the West, which has been in large part driven by this administration, by the U.S. over the almost 3 years of this conflict. A senior State Department official said that the details of this victory plan won't be known until it's laid out before the president, but they include 3 broad elements. 1, the military needs on the battlefield. 2, the political needs of the population of Ukraine to be welcomed into the West. And 3, the long-term economic needs that it will need to rebuild.
All right, Olivia Gazis at the UN for us this morning. Olivia, thank you as always for your reporting and your really excellent analysis. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Vlad.